Cause it's 6:30, so I don't know if you want to get underway or if you want to wait a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, yeah, there I go. I didn't see there. Yeah, we'll wait a couple of more minutes. Are there very many that you know of that will be or will be
Uh,
coming or not?
we're up to 16 people signed up right now, and there's 11 people on the Zoom.
Okay, we'll wait a couple of minutes. We've got time. I see Marissa's here.
Yep, we have Marissa from Sanitation on the line, on the call.
There we go. I think we can get started now. If there's anybody joining later on, so okay, Robert, would you like to give your
The
speech?
instructions, yep, sure. Welcome. If this is your first time joining us virtually, you'll notice that you're currently muted and that everyone will remain muted throughout the meeting, except the committee chair, Kaz, and any presenters. Following the presentations, and as we move through the agenda, Kaz will call members of the public. Kaz, our chair, will call members of the public who wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button, not the wave or the thumbs up, as those will disappear. Only press this once. If you press the second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling on the phone, it's *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Please be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the chair calls on you. The chat is available for technical support only, to help with Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the chair or the presenters. They will not see these chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you need to go to the participants section where you find the raise hand feature there. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen because we may not be able to see you. Chat me, I'm here for support. Kaz, back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Robert. Well, maybe we should unmute. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Kaz Spagnoletti, Chair of the Sanitation Committee of the Community Board 8, and welcome to the February meeting. If we can unmute Marissa.
Hey, good evening, Kaz.
Hi, Marissa. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Thank you.
So you're ready for tonight's Inquisition?
Oh, always.
Good. Okay. The first item on the agenda is composting, which has been rolled out for some time now in our district. So would you like to tell us a bit of how it's going and any improvements, any pitfalls, or anything that we need to know?
Right. So with compost collection, hold on one second. I'm making sure I have the correct, because typical, I didn't have everything in front of me. Okay, sorry. I was looking for a specific date. So at the moment, there's only curbside collection happening in Community Board 6 and 7. hopefully with no more budget cuts, we should be able to start for all of Manhattan curbside collection starting on October 6th of this year. So that date had moved a little bit when we got some budget cuts. So we're hoping that stays the same. That's officially on our website. So that's what I'm repeating. I just wanted to double check it. So hopefully that will still be going down the line. There are, of course, the smart compost bins, which are those orange bins that you may see on the corners. Those have been extremely popular. A lot of folks in your district and all over the city, specifically the outside of the two districts that have curbside, they're very excited about it. Everyone seems to enjoy it. I have not received, truthfully, a ton of even complaints about the smart compost bins, unless you're here to tell me that. But I've otherwise have not received any complaints about them. And really just Manhattan just needs to you just gotta be patient and wait for that October 6th when everybody will receive that curbside compost service.
So what's the difference between the small ones that we have in our district and the curbside pickup ones?
So the curbside compost collection, that's the little brown bins. I don't have one.
Mhm.
I don't have one in my office. I thought I did. The brown bins that you would put outside of your home, or building, whatever it may be, for collection by DSNY. The orange smart compost bins, of course, are those orange ones that are on the corner that anyone can use as long as you use your smartphone and use the app, you can unlock it. But no one else in CB8 should be receiving, no one in CB8 is receiving curbside compost collection because that's only in districts 6 and 7.
So have you received many complaints that if you don't have the app, you cannot use it?
Truthfully, no. I think I received one. And I think it was over in CB4. I received one person through a council member's office who was like, "Oh, it's really frustrating. I don't have a smartphone or I don't like using the apps and I have nowhere to put it." There are still some food scrap drop-off sites that are still open in the city. I know that might be minimal again with some budget cuts for some of our neighborhood organizations. That may not be the best model right now, but using those bins, as long as you have an app, the app, you can totally use them for free and with little problems.
And do they get very full all the time, and how often are they picked up?
They do get full. I will admit that I have received a couple of notices and reports of them getting full earlier than expected, especially with folks working from home. You have more opportunity to go drop it off instead of just like in the morning or after work. They are serviced in the evening in the overnight hours. I'm pretty sure I guess you can quote me, it's fine. 5 to 6 nights a week. So they are serviced pretty regularly. I have not been told that changed since again sorry, my lights are going off. Since some budget cuts that started. Give me one moment, just put the lights back on in my office.
Yep. And again, I'm not sure if Robert mentioned, if anybody has any questions, please use your virtual hand and we will call on you.
Okay, I'm back.
So they are getting full, they are being regularly very heavily used, and which is a good thing. But do you anticipate any more budget cuts?
At the moment, no. The mayor has reported, I think it was this week, that there are no more cuts for the rest of the fiscal year for any city agency. That, of course, can change. That's all up to the mayor. We don't know what's going to happen once July 1st starts and we get into the new fiscal year. But I'm hoping and praying that we have no more cuts. There is no more service issues that we will have. But again, if anything comes down the line, the first folks we're going to tell our council members and then tell our community boards. So you definitely will know once we know something.
Okay. What about some time ago was mentioned that buildings would have be able to have compost collecting at the building sites. Is that going to be rolled out or anything happening with that?
I don't think I know your question. So you mean us just picking up the compost or making your
No,
own?
just regular buildings having compost bins and putting them out. That is not available yet anywhere.
So I want to make sure I understand. When you say buildings, you just mean residential buildings.
Correct.
Okay, right. So for the borough of Manhattan, that will start as of right now, October 6th. So every single residential building or residence, whatever you want to say, that will start October 6th for Manhattan. Everybody will get the curbside compost collection service.
And what about if a building does not want to participate?
It's if they don't want to participate. We really encourage everybody to participate. It is pretty much, I'm still waiting on clearance on that. At the moment, I've not been told what happens once all 5 boroughs have it. At the moment, only 2 boroughs have it, and only leaf and yard waste is mandatory at the moment, not food waste. I think once all
Right.
5 boroughs have it, then food waste, then we can start enforcing food waste because that is mandatory. But I will need to double check on that for you. I've only been given talking points for Brooklyn and Queens, not for
Okay.
Manhattan, Staten Island, or the Bronx, just because it's not in your district at the moment.
So that's something for us to look forward to in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, we will keep that in mind. Anything else that we need to know or the public needs to know?
For compost.
Strictly composting.
Strictly compost. No, nothing really else yet for Manhattan. Just keep using those bins. If there are any food scrap drop-off sites like green markets, I know will be coming back in full force starting in April. Let me know if there's any issues that you have with any of these sites. But other than that, we all just need to be a little patient for October, unfortunately.
What about restaurant composting? Is that
So yeah, some restaurants that have to follow the organics law, they have to separate their organic and compostable materials for collection. We don't pick up the businesses, of course, on restaurant garbage, but there are many that have to follow that rule. And of course, it has to be containerized.
but DSNY makes the rule for the private carters?
I want to make sure I say the right thing. Yes, well, we don't really make the rule. That kind of comes from, city council and whatnot. But yes, we set up the rules and then we work with the Business Integrity Commission to make sure the business and the private carter are following the rules.
Okay. Okay. Anybody from the public have any questions or any board members? I don't see anybody. No questions. Wow, you're lucky tonight.
No questions so far.
Okay. Let's go to item 2, snow clearing. I mean, we haven't had much snow, but when we did, I noticed that sidewalks do not get cleaned. Some sidewalks do not get cleaned for some time. And what happens is the snow freezes over and it becomes very, very slippery. I think there's a time limit in which once the snow stops, the establishment has to. That is a very long time, isn't it?
It is, hold on one second. It really depends on when it stops falling. There's 3 different time brackets. And I can't really post for everybody in the chat, but I'll just tell you from the website. So from 7 a.m., if the snow is done falling, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., you have to clear it within 4 hours. If it stops falling from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., you have 14 hours. So you kind of have the overnight to get that done. If it stops snowing from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., so when you wake up, everything's done, you wake up nice and early, you have to clear it by 11 a.m. So the only time you have a lot of time really to clear the snow is if it's done between 5 and 9 p.m. because it's nighttime, it's dark. You're really not going to go out shoveling at 10 o'clock at night. Probably not the safest thing to do because it's hard to see. So you have a full 14 hours to clear it from then. But those are the 3 time brackets that we have. And I could put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Rob.
Yep.
Yeah.
Marissa, if you want to put the link in the chat, I can send it out to everyone.
Great, just did it.
But the nighttime, it's when it gets colder, and if it stops, that's the more dangerous time.
Right.
But yet it's the least, or it's the most amount of time that people don't have to clear. I know it's a catch-22 for you and for the people that. What about the corners? you've got walkways either way, and what happens, the snow melts and it puddles right where you want to cross, and sometimes you have to go halfway up the street or up the avenue to cross. Is there any future possibility of getting the corner buildings to do some clearing?
So they're supposed to. That's actually part of their responsibility. If you are on the corner, like my house is on the corner, I have to do the crosswalk. I have to do, even if it's just the part where it like dips a bit, that curb cut, I have to do that part. That is part of my responsibility and part of those 3 time brackets that I mentioned. So if a supervisor comes by and comes to my house and I did everything but that, I could still get a ticket because I did not actually create a path for everybody. So those corner buildings are supposed to be doing that. And if they're not, they can get a ticket. I know there wasn't a ton of snow and ice this past, what was it, last week, 2 weekends ago that we had that. Not as, not like 6 feet of snow, but they can definitely receive a summons for that. Yes.
But the problem is, how many inspectors do you have? And during the winter, would they be driving along checking? Or, I mean, nobody's going to be walking. So the inspectors are driving up and down the avenues, making sure. Do you have very many inspectors or a few, or for in our district?
Oh, for your district, I don't have that off the top of my head. So each district, you have an X number of supervisors. So not only enforcement agents, but supervisors can give tickets. They can give summonses. They, like what you just said, they drive around in their sector cars and they look at conditions within their sector. So that is something that they can do. You have a cleaning supervisor, they can all give tickets. If you have a supervisor title, you can give a ticket. So they can definitely do that. And then we have enforcement agents that are kind of responding to bigger enforcement issues. But if you submit things on 311, that will go to the district, who will then send a supervisor to check that location. So they can do that for you. So
Now, a
occasionally,
few years ago, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Dan Garodnik that was introducing in the city council any cross ticketing. Different agencies could cross ticket different people for different reasons. Did that ever come to fruition, or it just died at city council? And is that something that would need to be done by city council?
that would need to be done by the council. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of that in fruition at the moment. I only am concerned with what we can ticket. So I don't know if any other agency, if they see, an icy sidewalk, if they can give a ticket for that.
Yeah.
I will say, depending on the amount of snow and ice, we do hire snow laborers. So on top of doing like oh my God, what's stops? Sorry, bus stops. They also do crosswalks as much as they can, as much as that needs to be done. I believe we only had 1 day of snow laborers this time around, so it wasn't a ton. There have been times we've had them for like 3 days out there shoveling and,
Right,
and clearing areas, but these past 2 snowfalls that we had in February just really didn't warrant that. But that is another way that we do assist, but that's done after all the streets are basically cleared. So not that it's not a main concern for us, but we really put some onus and responsibility on property owners to actually clear away snow and ice. That's definitely their responsibility.
Good. And what's your prediction for future snow this year?
Oh, I mean, I'm hoping a lot of snow because that's that's beautiful over time for us. But no, I haven't heard. I mean, I know we're getting some warm weather right now. Over the weekend it's going to be pretty warm, but March is always slippery. It's always finicky. So we don't know what March is going to hold. So I think, fingers crossed, we're going to get at least one more somewhat snowfall. And I think we've done pretty good these past 2 that we've had in February. So we're pretty much at the end of snow season, but we'll see because March is a lion through and through. Always comes out really weird. So we'll see what happens.
Now, during the past snowstorm, I wasn't, but my wife was on the west side, and it hadn't snowed very much. But what she was saying, that all the streets were covered, it was pure white rock salt or whatever the DSNY uses.
Yeah.
If there's not very much snow, do you still spread the salt, or do you have other liquids or stuff that you spray before the snow?
So once the first snowflake falls, we got to start putting down salt. We'll also pre-treat with salt as well, especially if we know if the temperature is going to dip really low. I think that did happen for the second snowfall we had that Saturday.
Mhm.
It definitely got very, very cold. We do the brining as well. Hold on one second. Where's my brining?
Is that the spray you do beforehand?
I think it, sorry. Yes. It looks, I've never seen it in action, so I apologize. I don't have, right, because our spreaders are the first line of defense that we use, and that's the actual salt, you know, like the rock that it looks like.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Where is my, you know, when you look for something, you can't find it, but when I don't need it, it's always in front of my face. This is so typical.
But there's
Let me
some
find
country,
brine. Go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
some country towns you spray before the actual snowfall with some liquid that they use. I'm not sure quite. I've never really paid attention. But is that something that DSNY does use, will use, or may use?
Not before, no, I think we do the salting and we put the vehicles in position first.
Right.
And once that first flake goes down, but still the first right, we have our spreaders. Right.
Mhm.
That's all that
Well,
I
they're
stated.
parked on
Sorry.
the
I was
corners
looking for the
everywhere.
sentence that I have, my one little sentence about brining, which I obviously can't find when I need it. So I apologize, but I'm happy. I'm going to put another link here for you all. This is just the Manhattan snow plan. It's a PDF, but Robert can send that to everybody in case you didn't see it. We always post our snow plans for the season up on our website. So just send that to all of you. You can give it a look. And if it doesn't come through properly, I'm just going to add one more so you can choose Manhattan. Okay, Robert,
But
you have both.
don't you also have a website that you can follow the snow plows live?
Yep, that's our track. What is it called? Track NYC, Plow NYC. You can click on that. It's obviously not live right now, but you can track us on Plow NYC and you'll see what we've done in like your block. When was the last time, how
Mhm.
many hours ago or less than an hour ago that we were on your block? Correct.
Good. It's snow plowing and anything with snow. Anybody have any questions? And I see no questions. Great. I guess people are happy with DSNY. Trash pickup. Any cutbacks? Any future cutbacks or more pickups or less pickups, or we have what we have?
Nope. For residential collection, everything is the same. I believe in Manhattan, right? You have 3 days of garbage, 1 day of recycling. That is completely staying the same. That is not changing. No, any cuts we get, I don't think that will ever be affected. Is the actual collection because that's literally
Mhm.
all we technically are supposed to do. Our agency is
All right.
collect garbage, so that should never be affected. Hopefully, as we move forward with budget cuts, but that should never be affected. Other bigger like capital projects might be sidelines or larger service cuts, but not that.
What happens when the sanitation personnel pick up the garbage, they put the bins back, and the doors are left open? And many times, I've seen it, and different people have seen it. The garbage can is open, and people pull them out, and there's garbage there. Can something be done, or I guess it's a matter of natural occurrences?
Yeah, it's all depends on when you bring back in your can. Again, if we empty it and we leave it open and people walking by put garbage in, which they're not supposed to do, of course, it's really up to the property owner to bring them back in as quickly as possible or to bag that up and leave it out for the next collection day. Unfortunately, that responsibility is on the property owners. Once we're done with that bin, we put it back. We can't put it, back inside. We can't put it behind the property line if you have a gate or a fence or anything like that.
Mhm.
We can't go into private property. So unfortunately, we're hoping people will just stop littering and stop putting things in other people's garbage bins. But that's just sadly the nature of the beast of garbage and sanitation.
But what I'm thinking of is more the corner bins that get full and overflowing,
Right. So
not the
those are
property ones.
Well, some people can
Sorry.
adopt the basket if they want. They can change the liner out from the inside. We have some businesses that do that, and occasionally some residents or just really thoughtful people do that as well. If they live on the corner or they're as close as possible to that. Because once we finish, once we empty it, we put it back. Then the next round of garbage goes in. We try to limit as much overflow as possible and do the best that we can with the service that we are allowed to do. That would be the only thing that really would get affected with budget cuts is how often we can service a basket. But Manhattan gets the most basket service out of any other borough.
Okay. And how's the transfer station coming along?
What do you mean on 91st Street?
Heavily on the east side there, heavily used or as much as was anticipated and planned for?
Yeah, being used every single day as often as possible. When people go to, I mean, I'll let you know if I hear anything else. Let me know if you hear anything else. But no, all intents and purposes, that is being used properly and as it should. I don't go up there that often, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but if you want, I'll stand over there and clock the trucks if you need me to. But it's all is going well.
No, it's just that at the beginning we heard a lot of complaints about it, not wanting it there and it shouldn't be there. So kind of people have gotten used to it being there and the trucks going. There's been no real complaints about it, trucks idling or anything. So you're pretty happy with it. Or by you, I mean DSNY.
Me and DSNY, yeah, we're pretty happy with it.
Okay, thank you. And again, anybody have any questions on what are we up? Trash pickup. Okay, next one. New garbage
Kaz,
rules
you
for
have
business.
you have a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carnegie Hill Neighbours. Yes, sorry. Can you unmute them, please?
Oh, yes. Goss, it's Lo
Yes,
Vanderbilt.
hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Thanks for letting me on, and thanks for taking the time to go over the things you have. And I came late to this meeting, and I apologize. But I'd like to make two comments. One on the marine transfer station. I don't have direct experience, but I recently heard from someone who had been very concerned about how that would pan out, and they expressed the view that there seemed to be a lot fewer trucks than had been originally anticipated. So I can sort of support the view that it's turned out better than expected. Of course, it bears watching in the future. Now, I'd like to go back to the snow removal, and I thought your questioning was really, really helpful, and I thought the answers were helpful as well. I'd like to just add one more component to monitoring people's duty to shovel their own front steps, and that in Carnegie Hill, that can be a problem, and I know it's difficult to monitor that on the day that it snows, but a major concern are 1 or 2 days after the snow, when the snow has melted and frost sets in. Those who have not shoveled their snow, and there are only a few of them in each block, present a real health risk because you get black ice. And people do fall because the slope of the hill, for example, on East 93rd Street between Madison and Fifth Avenue, there was one house on the south side where a person had fallen, and the hill is rather steep, and there was real black ice. So I wonder if the snow monitoring can continue for 2 or 3 days after the event, because that's when you can really catch the people that have not. And I think those fines should be higher than the fines of the same day. That's just a suggestion, and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you so much.
That's a very good suggestion. Marissa? I mean, this is something that has happened, that, the snow doesn't get cleaned. they don't get fined, they don't get a citation, and it gets slippery, and it's very, very dangerous. And as Van said, down Carnegie Hill, the hills and slopes, which makes it more dangerous. Can something be done?
So I can't say off the top of my head. It changes for every single storm when we stop taking snow-related reports on 311. It definitely is, I want to say at least a day or two. I understand you're saying like 2 to 3 days, 100%. If it's super cold, then that condition is still there. But we can still take a like dirty sidewalk report, and you can kind of add in there that there's ice. So I think there's ways that we could still enforce that rule even a little bit after after 311 stops officially taking, that code kind of goes away afterwards. But yes, we definitely do have officers that go out there. We definitely did give out a lot of violations those 2 weeks ago after that storm. But 100%, it's definitely dangerous. It's needed. And if you see it moving forward, I mean, send a 311. I'm happy to pass you along if you don't have my info already. Robert, I can put that in the chat, and then you could, give out my email. I'm totally fine with that. Let me know if you see any of these conditions so I can tell the superintendent as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Yes. Marissa, thank you. Thank you so much for that and for providing your email. And also, I just want to say my name is Lo van der Valk, and I'm president of Carnegie Hill Neighbors. So, and speaking on behalf. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lo. Yeah, Carnegie Hill is much more dangerous than some other area with the slope of the streets. But Marissa, you said that you stopped taking 311 calls after a certain amount after the snow has stopped?
Right. So technically, like you couldn't today submit a snow-related complaint on 311 because it's only during the active snow operation time frame. So if you said today someone didn't shovel, of course not. That would make no sense. That can almost be considered harassment on your neighbor or something like that, right? Like if you just don't like your neighbor, you just want to come up with arbitrary complaints. So it does at some point end. But of course, depending on how cold it is, it may have stopped snowing and maybe 2 days later, but there's still some patches of ice. I think that's just naturally going to happen here in New York City, or maybe it rained and then it got colder. That still wouldn't be considered. We might be then out of snow operations officially. So if that does happen, 311 won't let you submit it, but maybe then you can reach out to me, or you can call. I can give the phone number for our customer service unit, and folks can call them and just see what else we can do, because these conditions still apply. And there's something, maybe those property owners don't know about it or whatever it may be. But I will put that in the chat as well. Our customer service number, which is, instead of calling 311, you can call us directly with any issue that you have.
But we get a big snowstorm, it sits there, and 2 days later, it is still dangerous, still hasn't been cleaned, and we cannot complain through a 311, even though there's a lot of ice and snow and slippery condition, even if it's 3-4 days later, and the dangerous situation there, we cannot go through 311.
Right. It's just all about the time frame. Yeah.
Ooh.
You
Could
can still
that
come to me.
change?
That I can't say. That I'm not 100%. I'm sure it could change, but then do we just take snow when we have to make a cutoff point? That's the only thing. We have to make a cutoff point at some point, and I think every storm is just different.
So getting back to Lowe's about the sanitation transfer station, does that mean that in the possibility the next few years that it could disappear and get changed to something else if you have less and less trucks?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a very interesting question. That I cannot say off the top of my head. I don't think so. We like that one. I don't think, but there's no plans at the moment to change the function of the marine transportation.
Of the transfer station. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Wow. Do we have it? This has been a very quick meeting for you. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Diego Barberena, can we unmute him?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question was regarding composting. Uh, just trying to the October line. It was supposed to be mandatory. So you don't know now if it's going to be mandatory or not.
No, it's still mandatory. I just don't know about enforcement. That I'll
Okay,
have to check on because my talking points for Brooklyn at the moment, right, is going to be totally different from Manhattan because you all are technically the last borough to receive the service. So at the moment, leaf and yard waste is only mandatory for Brooklyn, while food waste is mandatory. We're not starting enforcement on the food waste. So, because not all 5 boroughs are doing it. So once
sometime
you
like
all
in
start, then everybody will have started. So I'm just waiting for that final piece of what we say for enforcement.
sometime like in September, we're gonna see news about how to get the beans and stuff like that. I guess
Yeah,
for
probably
the buildings.
August. But yeah,
August, and
Yes.
there will be the rules, right? Okay,
yes,
That's it.
100%. Just gotta be patient.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So wait a minute. It's going to be mandatory, but not enforced.
At the moment, it's not fully enforced. At the moment, because only 2 boroughs are doing it.
Right.
So,
No, but
'cause
when it
once you
becomes
are gonna be the
mandatory,
last ones.
when it
Sorry, say
becomes
it again.
mandatory, when it becomes mandatory, will it be enforced?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I guess we have Lo again. Can we unmute him again?
Yes, yes. Again, Lo Vandervalk from Carnegie Hill Neighbors. I want to. There's been a great improvement in the trash being left out by stores, okay, because of these new container requirements. But there are certain stores or coffee shops, for example, that so I raised two problems. One is that certain stores or coffee shops overflow the cans, the plastic, large plastic containers they have, and it sort of undoes the purpose. Maybe they should order a third can if they have 2 that are overflowing. So that's a concern we have, and we hope that the sanitation department will address it. A second concern that we have is there are a few. I can only cite one isolated store. It's at 96th Street and Madison Avenue on the east side, near 96th Street, but on Madison, very near the bus stop. And that coffee shop or food shop leaves its container outdoors all day long, and it's in the middle of the sidewalk. And if it was around the corner or someplace inconspicuous, it may not be, but be that unsightly. But people have complained about this, and it also obstructs traffic because it's right in between the bus stop and the store. So that's a concern. Thank you for
Thank
addressing
you for
that.
bringing that up. This is actually a perfect segue. Robert Cos, is it okay if I show my very brief presentation about commercial containerization, which I think will answer some of those questions?
Yep.
It'll only take
If
me
you
2
give
minutes.
Yep, if you give me 1 second, Marissa, you can share your screen. All right, you should be able to share your screen now, Marissa.
Can everyone see a presentation? Part of a presentation.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, you could see it. Creating a clean MIC. Okay, perfect. This will be very brief, I promise you, but I think it's going to answer some of the questions that you all have had already. So of course, we're very committed to having a cleaner, less cluttered, and improving the quality of life for all New Yorkers, except the rats. Although I had to give this rat that rolly bag, so I do care about him a little bit. So we're definitely going to containerize waste that's going to remove mountains of black bags on our streets and modernize trash collections. I think Manhattan is the best kind of example of this because of so many really big residential buildings that we have. So between commercial containerizations, the effort, and sweeping new residential rules, we're going to have 70% of the city's trash is headed into containers, which will help get rid of the rat buffet that currently we have on our streets. And of course, this is going to make it harder for rats to find the food, especially if you keep your bin closed with the lid and you clean it out. Okay, getting to the actual rule. So starting March 1st, all businesses in New York City must use a bin with a secure lid if they're sitting out trash and organics. This does not apply to recyclables. If a business wants to still is going to put out recyclables, they could still put it in the clear plastic bag like you see in the photo there. That will still be allowed. So just to give you a little update. So first was food related businesses. They had to containerize their trash and organic material. That went into effect last August. Chain stores like, Duane Reade, Dallas Barbecue, they have to do that. They had to do that starting September 5th. So now starting March 1st, it's going to be every single other business. I don't care what they sell. I don't care what they do. Hair salons, nail salons, all those different folks, they have to containerize their trash and if they have any organic material. There will be a warning period, so we will not start enforcement until April 1st. We love a good April Fool's joke, so we're going to start on April 1st and give folks a little bit more time to kind of get in the mode and get ready for this new rule if they're not already ready for it. So trash and organic waste is going to go into a container with a secure lid. It can be set out up to an hour before closing. I know some businesses, especially some, in Midtown or whatever, they close at like 4 o'clock or something like that. So they could set it out an hour before closing in their bin. For the recyclables, they can use a container. That's totally fine. We actually obviously prefer it. And that's when they can set it out an hour before closing. If they are using bags or if they're just folding up their cardboard boxes, with twine, like you're allowed to, it has to be set out after 8 p.m. only, which is of course the rule right now for residential. This doesn't apply to businesses that have their waste collected from a loading dock. I don't know how many there actually are, but this applies to them. And containers must be removed from the curb by the time the business reopens. So if they put it out right before they close, just when they come back the next morning, they got to pull it in. And we'll talk about where they have to leave it. So food-related business, of course, that's where a lot of food is from. I think we all know rats like food. Commercial organic laws. If your business is already required to separate organics, you are also required to containerize that waste. You can go on our website to see just some more businesses that have to follow those rules, pretty much all restaurants. Where do businesses get their bins? They have to buy it themselves or go to the private carter, see whatever works best, and just has to be clearly labeled and says either the name of the private carter, the name of the business, the address, whatever it may be. It just needs to be labeled and say trash on it, or if it's organic waste, they need to say that too. But DSMY is not providing any business with a bin. We're not doing that. So to get to your point, where should these bins be stored? So they need to be stored inside or in a rear yard. I don't think most places have a rear yard in Manhattan, let's be honest. Also, wait a second. Oh, sorry, clicked the button. If space is not available, bins can be stored within 3 feet of the building line when not set out for collection. So if they're up against the front of the business, on the property, that's totally fine. It's within that 3 feet. Being in the middle of the block, that is definitely a problem. So do send me the name of that place that is doing that. That is definitely not allowed. Cannot have it obstructing the sidewalk. That is already that's already a code that we have for enforcement. Can't obstruct the sidewalk. And the bins need to be maintained in a neat and orderly manner. We need to have a clear path for pedestrian travel on the sidewalk, and they can't just be overflowing. They can't have bags on top of the closed bin. It needs to be very neat. So that is something else that we can give them a ticket for anyway, if just their bins are not set out properly, or if it's a dirty sidewalk condition. They need to maintain the sidewalk in front of their business. Are there any exceptions? Really, no. Unless there's a mayoral declaration of a health or solid waste emergency, I have no idea what that would be. But that just kind of covers anything that falls under that. Or if our commissioner, determines that the weather conditions are unfit for use of bins, if we're going to get the craziest windstorm in the world, I guess we would tell everybody to move the bins in. Or if it would constitute a public nuisance. Now, of course, starting Friday, March 1st, or really April 1st, when we start with enforcement, we'll be able to see if every single business having a bin out is a giant public nuisance. I think I've already gotten some calls from, some feedback from folks saying this is going to take up a lot of sidewalk space. And I definitely think it's true, especially with the dining structures that are out. I definitely think you guys have some on the east side, as well as I know there's some on the west side. That's going to definitely be an issue. But once we really see how that goes, don't tell me April 2nd that it's already a public nuisance. Just give us a little time to see what it actually looks like. See if we can work with some of these businesses to move the bins around. Do they actually have space inside? Are they kind of lying about that? Of course, no one wants a garbage can in their building, but you have to. You can't just leave everything on the sidewalk. So that is something we're going to monitor. And of course, some resources. If anyone here is a business owner, you can go on our website, look on nyc.gov/use bins and any other business resources. You also have my email, so let me know if there's anything specific that you're looking for. There's a photo of my 2 interns from last year. And of course, questions, our leaf bag and Scrappy. But I will take this off and stop sharing so that we can, okay, there we go. That is my little presentation. How to make sure I say all that. Yes.
Now, people are not supposed to be putting out garbage before a certain time, but walking around, there's a lot out there before that time.
Yeah, they can get a ticket for that 100%. It just depends on who we actually catch. If you make a 311 report, you can email me, let me know if there's a, this goes for residents and businesses because that rule went into effect last April. So this is an old rule now, technically. Do let me know when folks are putting out their garbage. Feel free to rat on anybody. It's totally fine. And we'll check it out. I'll send it to the superintendent, not even to enforcement first. So an officer just can speak with them. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're a new business. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. We always want to go with education before a violation. That's at least my rule. So we'll start with that first and talk with them and then see if they do it again, what we need to do.
Now, one comment you said that a business, they can, if they close at 4 o'clock, they can put it out there as long as they put it in the next morning when they open.
Right. If they're using a bin, if they're putting their trash in a bin, it's closed, it's perfect. If they close at 4 o'clock, they can start to put it out at 3 o'clock. As we know with private carters, they normally start operating in the later hours of the day, overnight. That's kind of their time to shine. So it will be sitting there for a little bit, but if it's in the bin, then they're technically within the rules. They're not doing anything wrong. But of course, that's something we'll look at, make sure.
So hypothetically, I put a bin out at 3 o'clock on Friday. I don't open Saturday. I have to go there and take the bin, or what happens there?
That is a very good point. When do they have to bring them back in? Yeah,
Because
by
I
the
think
time
you
the business
said
reopens, when it reopens. So
I
if
think
it's
you
Sunday,
said after they open in the, yeah, I think you said after they open the next morning, but if they don't open, the bin sits there and that's legal?
yeah, it's when by the time the business reopens. So if they put it out Saturday, they're closed on Sundays, it will sit there. Yes. I haven't had that come into effect yet. I haven't heard any complaints about that yet, but that's a really great flag. I think that's something we'll have to keep looking at.
So maybe it should be by a certain amount the next morning, at a certain time the next morning, not the reopening.
Right. That's a really good flag. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll see a change by tomorrow?
For you, of course.
Thank you. Another question. Dining out becomes effective, March 3 or whatever it is, and the people have to file with DOT. Does DSNY help DOT remove street side sheds, and so you're still involved?
Yeah, we are. DOT does have a team, so you can't tell us to remove one. DOT would get that first call. They have the main jurisdiction. So you would tell DOT this isn't being used, this is disgusting, whatever. And then if they need our assistance, there's a few that they've taken down, well, at least a year ago, without us. So I wouldn't always have the full list of which ones we've taken down, but they normally need our assistance to get rid of a lot of things. Even if they dismantle it, then we haul away stuff. But yeah, we wouldn't do it on our own. Don't tell me to take it down. You got to go to DOT first.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed quite a few different areas that sheds have come down.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, my other pet peeve, and I will bring it up again. Cardboard boxes. The rule is you put them out, you tie them, or you put them in a clear bag. Can it ever be enforced that you flatten them?
I
which
think that
would
would need city council.
eliminate a lot of space, which would make it a lot easier.
I agree. I think you and me have had this conversation before when I've come to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have to come. I don't know if you've ever spoken to your council member. I think you're still in Julie Menon's district, to chat with her about that a little bit and see if that's something that's coming down the line. I don't know if she's still on the sanitation committee. You have a new chair, that's Councilmember Sean Abreu. He's on the west side, so not really someone you're normally talking to. But you can definitely bring that up to him and see if that's something that can be done. If it comes that way, then it'll definitely be enacted and we'll definitely follow that. I don't know how our rulemaking process goes, I'll be honest with you. So I don't want to say, yes, tomorrow I can just start telling collections to start doing it that way. We would have to be kind of given that information and given that rule.
But big box stores do flatten them, and supermarkets, they do flatten them quite a bit, which makes it a lot less cumbersome that you can walk rather than having to walk around the big pile of cardboard.
I agree. Yeah, it definitely helps.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions before we move on? I'm not seeing any questions. Wow, you're lucky. Oh, well, Judy Snyder. Can we unmute Judy?
Hi, thanks. This was all very interesting. I didn't get all of it, but I'll listen to what I missed tomorrow. My question is off topic a little bit. Okay. Will this, and if so, when, rule go into effect for apartment houses? The storage bins.
That won't go into effect. You know what, typical when I put this away. 1 second, I can give you the date. If my computer will work. This is why I work from the office.
March 1?
I think it's like, no, that's for commercial. For residential. Give me 1 second, I'm so sorry. I literally just had the page up and then I lost it. It is coming down the pipe. I think we have until 2020. I think you have until 2025 until that becomes an issue. But of course, nothing works when I need it to. I believe it's 2025. If you have another question, do let me know as I'm waiting for this to load. I will not forget to check on it.
I don't know that anyone else is interested. Maybe is it possible that I could speak with you offline? Because I live in a very large apartment building. And there
will be different rules for like 1 to 9 units, and then units with buildings with 10 or more, which of course is most of Manhattan has a lot of larger buildings. Oh my gosh. Oh, because they're doing some work on our website, and I think my shortcut is not working. But you have until 2025. If you saw my email, I think Robert put it in. Yeah, you can email me, Judith, if you have any further questions, and we can chat this week or next week.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that because I live in a 300-unit building, and those little bins just, I mean, I don't know how it works for an apartment building.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have any guidance yet on 10 plus units in a residential building, which of course that would be you. So I'm waiting on more information on that.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been very helpful.
You're welcome.
One question, would it be ever possible for DSNY to have, much bigger bins and put them out once a week just for 1 day, more the big containers? I mean, you see private contractors putting whole container bins 20, 30, 50 feet long on this road, and they're there for weeks and weeks. Would it ever pay for DSNY to have much smaller bins, 1 or 2 per block, just certain days for a couple of hours, or, and then the buildings could empty there? It would make it a lot easier for the DSNY to pick up 1 container rather than 100 containers, or however.
That's really interesting. We do have a program that some buildings are in, they've been in for a very long time, which is our Easy Pack and Ro-Ros. So that's where it's very, very big containers. The Ro-Ros, we literally pick up the container, dump it, and we bring it back to the residential building. I guess the question is where it would go. Is that taking up parking space? Of naturally, so I think that's the big, that's something we couldn't just start doing without talking to a lot of other folks about it. But that's a really interesting point. If it's just kind of smaller than a dumpster, right? But a larger
Right.
container, everybody put it in, and then kind of like your regular schedule, you get 3 days a week, we'll come pick it up and take it away. That's a very interesting point. I can't give any other comment about it than that, but it's very
Right.
good idea.
But even if it's out there for just one day, I mean, it wouldn't take very much, and one day that would be a lot more container, bigger container, but less time and easier for DSNY to pick up.
Yeah, just depends on where we would have to bring the container
Yeah.
back. Will it fit in the
Okay.
garage? That's, I guess it's all about space, which is what we don't want the
Yeah.
responsibility. We're gonna put it on you all to get the containers. But
Put
yeah,
it
that's a
on
really
the
good point.
DOT.
Right,
You
yeah.
get on very well with DOT. They'll let you do anything. Can we unmute Diego again? Robert, can we unmute Diego?
Wasn't it said early, like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, of this side loaders pilot project for the west side, that was going to be the solution for buildings with more than 30 units?
The truck, you mean, that lifts up
Yep.
from the side? So I did see that video as well. I don't have any other information about it. I believe that was just a prototype. That is definitely not in service at the moment, and I have not heard of it. I've not been given any talking points or anything to say further about it. So I think it was a great video. I don't know how much in the future that's going to be, because that's going to cost money to either fix all our trucks and retrofit them, or to create brand new trucks to do that.
Right. So what she said, or they said in this announcement with the mayor, was that they will start on the west side in 2025. And I think they're gonna have like 12 trucks, and then eventually that's gonna move to all Manhattan, or I mean to all the city.
Again, I've been given no further information. What you saw is as much as I know. I don't know anything more about that pilot program.
Okay, so there's no, you
don't
don't know of anything that it's being developed.
Nope. You can ask the commissioner. She has not told us anything else about it, so we just don't know. Once they're out there, that's when I'll know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And can we unmute Kathleen?
Yes. When you're talking about all of these large containers on places for long times, I remember once a long time ago, I forget when, there was a sanitation department walkout, and the garbage was not picked up and everything was smelly, smelly, smelly. So what do you do about garbage in long places in large quantities about the smell?
Oh, I've gotten used to the smell, so I don't know if I really smell it anymore. I'm sorry, I'm joking. No, so you mean like if all the garbage is in containers on the street, like how much that's gonna smell?
Just garbage smells. And I remembered when they weren't picked up and when they were on the corners for a long time, the whole city smelled of garbage.
Well, that will hopefully never happen again. That shouldn't, I don't know if we're allowed to strike again. Hopefully that was too long ago even, but no, I don't have any other thoughts on that. Our goal is to pick up the garbage on time as often as possible. Manhattan, you get the most curbside garbage collection with 3 days a week. No other borough gets that. So just trying to keep collecting it as often as possible and servicing those corner baskets as well. But you definitely gave me something to be scared of, is if we ever do strike and they don't pick it up anymore. I will have nightmares of that tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Marissa, did you just say that there's going to be no more strikes?
No, I don't know. I thought
that's what I heard.
that certain certain city agencies aren't allowed to strike. Like NYPD, I don't think they're allowed to strike. Technically. I don't know.
Technically.
That or I made that up. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think we will.
Okay.
You know what? No. I don't want this to be quoted that I'm saying we're going to strike. We're definitely not. We have no intentions of doing that. We're all very happy. We're very, very
Good.
happy.
Okay. So, what else? Anybody from the public have any questions? We're going to let Marissa off lightly tonight, I see. Oops, Evelyn.
Evelyn, you should be able to unmute.
There she is.
Yeah, I have a question, but it's not about the cans. Are you going to talk about parking pass at all? Is that topic going to come up? And I will get off immediately if it is not.
Parking what? I think you dropped for half a second.
Oh, parking passes.
No, this
We've been
is
talking about it.
sanitation. No,
Right.
this is,
No, I know, but I was told in the last meeting to bring it up. Okay. All right. That's fine. I do have a question about the bins. A friend of mine has a business, an art store, right? He's allowed to put the bin 3 feet
From the property line. Yep.
within 3 feet of.
Yep.
Okay. So he can leave it there. He can't bring it in the store. He isn't
Correct,
out,
yeah.
it's like he doesn't know where to put it.
No, yeah, he can leave.
Some of them are very small places.
Yep,
Okay.
that's why
All
we're
right.
allowing you to
Okay.
leave it outside.
And who's going to stop it from getting stolen?
The property owner. That'll be his responsibility to make sure it doesn't get stolen.
Okay, so he'll have to tie it up somehow to something.
Yeah, he could tie it
Yeah.
up in the meantime, and then when it's time for collection, he just has to put it curbside.
Right. Okay. All right. I will pass that along. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
But Marissa, you mentioned this 3 foot from the building line. Doesn't that apply to every single store or building that they can store things within 3 feet of their boundary line and it's legal?
Everything, you mean like signs and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I mean, you get the florists, you get fruit, and you get different people that I thought 3 feet from the building line was legal for anything.
I cannot confirm or deny that. I don't know that off the top of my head for everything.
Okay.
I know for bins, yes. For every other little thing, I do not know off the top of my head. So I don't want to
Yeah,
say.
I thought there was something with 3 feet from the building line. Okay. And anybody else have any questions before we call it a night? Oh, I'm sorry to see you go. You can always tell us more about what DSNY intends to do, and I mean, we could chat all night here.
Nope. I think I've said enough, made enough jokes, said enough controversial things, It's until next time.
Until next time, we will hold you to it. Okay, if nobody else has any other questions, I don't think we have any old business, new business. And on that, thank you very, very much for the informative night.